What is going on, folks? Welcome back to another edition of the Fightful Wrestling Weekly, brought to you by the fine folks at Fightful.com and brought to you by the fine folks at Skype. Skype, we f***ing hate you sometimes because our cameras would not work whatsoever. It's like Skype knows we're doing something really important and just says, oh, you know what? No.
Nick's camera works, but then after about 45 to 60 seconds, it wants to freeze.
Yeah, it sounds god-awful. I don't like it. And so, as always, we're going to tread on, we're going to keep doing it, and we're going to kick off with the RAW Smackdown Notes. This week's WWE SmackDown Live working title was, quote, 5 matches and a funeral, end quote, into reference to Midge's eulogy of Team Hell No, and pretty obvious number of title matches. Now, when they say funeral, I imagined it was all the people that got so mad that they died during Extreme Rules, so they put on a funeral for them. Turns out it wasn't. Turns out it was for Team Hell No.
You know the funny thing about that?
What?
They did it like Team Hell No's dead.
Yeah.
All Kane did was hurt his ankle. He broke his ankle or whatever. Achilles.
Basically means dead.
He could be back whenever he
And
wants.
the title for WWE Monday Night Raw was, quote, to beast or not to beast, playing off the indecisiveness surrounding Brock Lesnar's WWE Universal Championship. Was a
To beast or not to beast, that is the question.
There was a backstage live shot of Constable Baron Corbin in his office with Paul Heyman entering that was supposed to run right after the Alexa Bliss Ronda Rousey segment, but for whatever reason it didn't end up happening. Instead, later, we saw Kurt Angle, Paul Heyman, and Constable Baron Corbin watching the main event together backstage. What a lovely group of people to watch the main event with. I couldn't imagine hanging out with Constable Baron Corbin. Do you think Corbin was like, hey, Angle, can I have my phone back, please? And Angle was like, not till you clean your room, young man.
Dad, I need my phone. Twitter. Twitter.
Raw and SmackDown were definitely interesting shows this week. I think SmackDown was the better of the two when it came to wrestling. I think that had some phenomenal matches there. Those 5 matches really did live up to expectations for a SmackDown Live episode.
But
it was very good.
As far as Raw goes, though, that first hour did really, really well in the ratings. And you know what that's attributed to? Everybody wanted to know if Brock was going to show up. So Brock is worth that, however many millions they're paying him.
And I really wish
it got the rating up, at least for that first hour.
And I really wish all the people on the internet who just say Brock is the worst champion on the planet, he can't draw anything, would see that. But that's something that'll never, ever happen. Speaking of something that will never, ever happen, there was a certain owner of a certain promotion that was offered a certain amount of money from another certain promotion to shut down his certain promotion. How many times did I say certain? Put up the counter now, right in the middle of the screen. That's how many times I said it. Now you have to edit that. You have no choice. We're going to send you over to an interview with Tommy Dreamer that he did with Sean Ross Sapp, and it's very interesting, this interview, to hear what WWE offered to Dreamer. So go ahead and take a listen to it right now.
Tommy, in the past, I think 3.5 years, you've appeared for Impact, ROH, WWE, even a couple of NXT dates. How do you go about balancing all those relationships? And have you ever actually signed with any of those? Or has it just been like handshake agreements as you work on your own thing at House of Hardcore?
No, I have not. I also would like to add Lucha Underground to that mix and a few others. I learned a lot of lessons in my life. Everyone talks about ECW and the greatness of what was ECW, and it was. But none of us ever knew that Paul Heyman was in bed with the WWE the entire time. I saw those effects. I had to live with those effects for a long, long time. I would not sign a contract with anyone. WWE asked me to sign a contract when I went back with the Wyatts. And they offered me a lot of money to close House of Hardcore, and I refused. Impact Wrestling, I worked there under a lot of different regimes. Once politics or BS started getting involved, I just left.
And if you guys enjoyed that interview, of course, head over to Fightful.com to listen to the full thing, or on the Fightful YouTube channel, or I don't know, tweet Sean Ross Sapp, send me the link directly. Have Sean Ross Sapp personally write you a handwritten letter with the URL to your home to listen to it.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? What else we got to talk about?
All right, so this week, Sean spoke with Conrad Thompson, who you may all know from Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, or 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, or What Happened When with Tony Schiavone, or from the upcoming Starrcast event. So
he gets around, man.
Yeah, he calls himself the Podfather.
I would see why.
So in an interview Conrad did to promote Starrcast being broadcasted on the Fight app, Sean goes on to state that I talked to him about the differences in his co-host, the packages Starrcast has available to viewers, and some of the merchandise available as part of the deals. Starrcast will provide a live and on-demand stream of the event on Fight. Thompson said that Fight approached him for the deal and made the pitch. He sounded most excited for longtime WWE composer Jim Johnston's appearance on Starrcast.
Now, not only will it be on Fight, but for the low price, like what, $150?
And I think that's the if you get it early price.
Listen, man, I get that you really got to make money on this Starrcast
All-In
all-in
thing you get to watch.
So that would be what, $20 a day?
Hey, you get to watch freaking Marty Skrull host karaoke.
I mean, I think it would make more sense if you wanted to watch one specific day. You could buy that specific day for $20, not spend $150 for everything.
True.
If you don't want to watch a certain part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, Conrad, I know you're listening. You can take that into consideration. You don't need to give me a kickback, but if you feel like it, you can.
Also, they go on and talk about their WWE Network show. He says, as far as something else to wrestle show on WWE Network, Conrad and Bruce decided to switch up their intro, not a WWE directive. Now, if you don't know what that really means, usually when they do their podcast, Conrad does the intro and he says, hey, how's it going, everybody, or whatever. But on the network show, Bruce is the one that did the hey, how's it going, everybody kind of deal. Because they were introducing themselves to a completely different audience, he tells me that WWE would like to do another season and that the show did really good for the network. And the evergreen nature of their program really helps fit on the subscription service because their content doesn't necessarily age because of the topics tackled. Basically, it's just like you can always go back and watch that stuff because it's all talking about history anyway. So no matter if you watch it now or in 5 years, it's still talking about stuff in the past. So it's not like talking about something that's relevant right now that has to be talked about and heard at that moment.
And I want to mention, I'm a really big fan of Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard.
Okay.
I've gotten into that podcast.
Yeah.
I hadn't listened to it before I listened to Something Else to Wrestle. So I started with Something Else.
Okay.
I didn't like it.
Uh-oh.
But I was on a plane ride to Salt Lake City. So it's about a 2-hour long plane ride. I listened to the entirety of the Montreal Screwjob. And do you remember what I texted you as soon as I got off the plane?
I remember you asked if I listened to it, but that was all I remember.
I said all I learned is Bret Hart's a huge dick.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the one wrestling podcast where I can learn something. And I mean, I genuinely enjoy Something to Wrestle. I don't really care for Something Else to Wrestle. I just feel like it's too
if you like the one with Bruce and Conrad, you'll most likely like the one with Bischoff and Conrad. Because you learn a lot. Because I didn't grow up watching WCW. But I've gone back and I've watched a lot of WCW stuff. You learn a lot of WCW stuff listening to Eric Bischoff.
You know who's a really big WCW fan?
Who?
Sean Ross Sapp.
Really?
No, I don't know that. I'm just saying that so we can transition into the final thing.
Which is
a clip from the list and Ya Boy, the greatest wrestling podcast behind ours on the planet. So we're going to send you over to clip to it right now. Enjoy, folks. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Let's move on to the polarizing topic of the week, and that would be the topic of Hulk Hogan, Sean.
Yeah.
I can't remember what day it was. Maybe it was Sunday when you texted me and said Hogan's back. And so I looked into things, and I got to say, WWE they were very strategic in how they worded this.
They're still being very strategic in the damage control they do.
Yeah, the video, which we'll get into in a minute, wasn't the wisest thing that they put up. But so they strategically did not say that he has re-signed. They did not say he's back. They did not say anything. All they said is he's been reinstated into the Hall of Fame after a 3-year suspension. And that is the verbiage they used. They brought him to Pittsburgh for Extreme Rules. He met with the roster.
Via Cleveland. They brought him in.
So was that just a connection, or was he in Cleveland for a reason?
Come on, man. Hulk Hogan, if they don't have to give him a connection flight, They're not going to. That was the first sign right there.
Him being the businessman that he is, did he like stop off in Cleveland for a Comic-Con or something?
I don't think so.
Because that's Hogan. He'll pocket 20 grand on his way in.
That's true. That's a good point.
But so they brought him in. He addressed the roster backstage. Apparently it was taped, but nothing's been released. He didn't appear on camera on the pay-per-view, and he left before Raw. We'll get into a minute into our thoughts about it, but I want to touch upon this first. So Mark Henry, who was critical in the past about this whole thing and what Hogan said and everything, but he's also a very fair guy, Mark Henry. I think it was TMZ that he was talking to, and he said that there was a 50-50 split among the black wrestlers in WWE as far as Hogan coming back and the speech that he gave and everything. But he also told Busted Open Radio that he talked to Hogan at Extreme Rules and that he was, quote, very optimistic after speaking to Hogan. Then there were other guys. Kofi Kingston is one. He posted a statement on social media basically saying that the New Day is indifferent on this news. He said he has no problem with Hogan being reinstated into the Hall of Fame given his legacy and all of that. But he said that otherwise he's not going to forget his comments. They're going to go about their business. He said it's not going to have any impact on their performance in the ring or anything like that. Titus O'Neil took a little bit of a different route. Apparently, because I saw something on Twitter where he's saying there's false information.
Yeah, he didn't storm out.
No, that's not what I heard. Okay. People that were posting negative comments about Hogan, Titus O'Neil liked the negative comments.
Correct.
Which got people thinking, okay, he's not cool about this news. Then Titus O'Neil said that he was in agreement with Kofi's statement. Because Kofi's statement didn't say, fuck Hulk Hogan. It just said...
they won't associate with him until they feel he's genuine.
Right, but he said, I understand them putting him back in the Hall of Fame. I'm indifferent about the news otherwise. He wasn't negative in any way. And Titus said, I'm in agreement with what he said. Booker T back in May told TMZ, quote, everybody deserves a second chance. It's what life is all about. I would say welcome back. And James Ellsworth on his podcast, which honestly, Sean, I didn't know was still going on until I saw this news.
He's not signed. That's why.
He's not signed.
No.
He's on a per diem, like a per night.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, James Ellsworth said, for the most part, it seemed like everybody accepted his apology. So let me give you my opinion. I saw some of your podcasts, so I saw like what Jeff Hawkins said and what Alex said and all that. Here's my opinion. I think that because of who he is, he deserves a second chance. That's my opinion. I'm not going to defend what he said, but if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, there's a good chance that Vince McMahon would never have succeeded going national in the mid-'80s.
Good chance we're not doing this podcast right now.
Yes, good chance we're not doing this podcast. Good chance WWE's not around. They're not signing a new deal that's going to pay them $500 million a year in the next 4 years, whatever it is. That's because of Hulk Hogan. He was the right guy in the right place at the right time. I think he's earned a second chance. If it was Enzo Amore, Sean, that made those comments, Enzo Amore can go work at a fast food joint for the rest of his life as far as I'd be concerned as Vince McMahon. But because it's Hulk Hogan, I think he deserves a second chance. I do think, though, that there should be some conditions on it. The first one is, obviously, don't do anything like that again. Don't say anything like that again. If anything comes out again like that, you're done. That'd be number one. Number two, I would want to gauge the fan reaction and the locker room reaction. Because they're going to bring him on TV eventually, right? So what's going to happen when they bring him on live television? Is the crowd going to shit on him? Is it going to be a negative reaction? Is the negative reaction going to trump the positive reaction? And if that's the case, they might want to consider sending him home. But otherwise, I think he deserves it, and that's my opinion. What do you think?
So I often mention, a lot of times I don't fish for storyline scoops and stuff like that. I mean, we've got the back and forth about the Bryan contract deal. I take the temperature of the locker room very often, and it is 50-50. However, in any quotes given to TMZ, I disregard those immediately because Ryan Satin, who used to work for TMZ, I don't know if you saw a thread he had going over the last several months of TMZ trying to get Hogan back in the WWE. Like, just story after story. Hogan deserves another chance, says this person, says this person, says this person. It was very comical the way that it was.
What's in it for TMZ? Is it because he leaks them information?
Probably. I mean, whenever he needs a camera crew, you better believe they're there.
Yeah.